Hi, I'm Pam Demore, the Decorating Diva, and welcome to my next lesson on how to do our wonderful pillow project. So we've already learned how cool it is to make wonderful buttonholes, and that is basically the gist of our lesson. But I wanted to show you a few more techniques that I use in making my wonderful pillow here. I'll show you that. I remember this from before. So we're going to learn how to do this rope cord here and how to do piping, and we're going to put in a zipper. So I'm going to start out with some continuous bias, and I've used the instructions from my continuous bias guide. I've started my parallelogram, and I'm just going to sew a couple sides together here to show you how this works. And I've made some already, but I just wanted to give you a quick step on how to do this. There are full step-by-step instructions for all of the projects, or how to get my bias charts and that sort of thing, so you can make your project with me. So I'm sewing with about a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And this seam would be pressed open and flat. I'll just finger press this right now. And then we're going to cut bias, and this bias is cut at 1.5 inches wide, and it's just spiral cut. That's why it's called continuous bias. It's all just cut in a spiral. So what I do is, you can measure this if you'd like. You can measure your cutting lines, but I know that from my finger, from this line to the end of my finger, is about 1.5 inches. So I just line this up with that line to the edge of my finger. Grab some scissors. And I just cut. I just hold my hand out and I just cut. It doesn't have to be perfect, just good enough for government work. And that's how I make my bias. And this makes a lot of bias very quickly that you can use in your projects. So let's make a little bit of piping. I'm using my micro welt cord here, and I have a special foot for that. I had a special foot for that. Always the last place to look, isn't it? And we're going to start with the cord, and because the cord is a little slippery, I put a knot in here at the end, and I'm just going to fold my bias over in half, and I'm going to start it, and there's a groove at the bottom of this foot, and that groove holds that perfectly in place. Grab my stiletto, because that makes it a little easier. Hold it. Wrong pedal, just a second here. I have 2 foot control pedals down below, and one of them cuts the thread, and the other one is the gas pedal, and I have my foot on the wrong one. Now, after I make my cord, but before I sew it on the pillow, I'm going to want to trim those seam allowances to a 2.5 inch seam allowance. So let me show you how to do that quickly. I'm going to pull over my cutting mat. And find a rotary cutter in my drawer of tricks here. And this ruler has a trimming groove along the side, and it's going to trim exactly at a 1/2 inch. So when I put my ruler on there, it holds my cord right in place, and I can use my rotary cutter. And that is all trimmed perfectly to sew into my project. There we go. So now that's ready to sew in, and I've got a piece already sewn on here that I started sewing on. I knew you wouldn't need to see me do all the corners, but I thought you need to see how I turn the corners. So I have a piece ready to go here. My pillow front is ready to go. And so I'm going to turn this corner, and then when I come here, I'm going to show you how to join that together. Now, if you don't want to do the continuous bias, you don't need to. It's just a faster, more efficient way, especially since we're using the same bias to do the roping. I find it's a lot faster. So I'm going to snip the corner at a 1/2 inch above the corner. Now, these little scissors are the snippet scissors, and they have a little notch cut out. So we're going to take those and just line that notch right up to the edge right there. And we're going to do 3 snippets, all about 1/4 inch apart. And we're going to pivot back, and we're going to sew until we get to a 1/2 inch from the corner, which is about where the middle mark is. We're going to pivot, take our stiletto, stab that cord, put it back under the foot and push it back, and watch what happens right here. Watch right here. See how it rocks back just a little bit? And that gives us a little extra cord in the corner so that our corners are nice and square. I'm going to trim this off at a 45-degree angle, and I'm going to overlap this about 2.5, 3 inches. Then we're going to use our seam ripper. We're going to rip open this stitching line so that we can splice the cord. And you always want to go with the ball side down. And you've got a nice sharp seam ripper you can rip out that easy. Okay, perfect every time. All right, so you're going to fold that back onto itself, just like that. You're going to lay this cord right over the top. You're going to come in here and you're going to snip the cord so they just marry together perfectly. Fold the fabric over the top of the cord. Hold it in place with your stiletto. And there you have a perfect splice for your cord. Now our pillow front is ready to be married to the pillow back, but the pillow back is not finished yet, so we need to put a zipper in there. So let's do a zipper. Actually, you know what? Before we do the zipper, let's do that. Let's do that stuffed roping. I want to show you how to do that. That's super easy, super fun. So I'm going to cut a piece of this bias off. We're going to switch back to our open toe foot. And I'm just going to fold this in half, and I'm going to sew with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So there's going to be a little bit of the fold hanging off on this side. And as I sew this, because this is on the bias and I'm going to kind of pull on it, and I don't want to break my stitching as I turn it, I'm going to give it a little tug, which I normally don't do. I'm going to give it a little tug and just stretch it just a little bit, okay? That way, when I'm turning the tube turner, the threads aren't going to break, so I've given them a little bit of looseness. We'll just go to this seam here. You don't need to see a lot of that. I've already got it made. Okay, hold tight. I'm going to grab my cord and my tube turner. This is the cord that we're using. It's our balance cord. It's nice and soft, and it's great for what we're using it for. And I put some Scotch tape on the end here. I'm just going to cut that off just a little bit. It sort of looks like the end of a shoelace. I'm going to take my fast turn tube turner set, and I'm going to use size number, this one here, which I think is number 3. Yes, number 3. And so it's a little smaller than a pencil. And we are going to put our fabric tube over the top of the tube turner. Okay, and of course, usually, you know, I have a lot more than this. And then we're going to take this little wire that has this wire, and put it against the white here. It's got like a little pigtail coil, and it's real sharp at the end, like a pin. Okay, so that's going to go inside the brass tubing. Come out the end here. We're going to pull the fabric up to poke it through, and I'm going to twist the handle. And as I twist the handle, the little pigtail pops out. Now I'm going to poke it through again because I don't want it to tear. I don't want it to pull out. So I usually do through twice. I'm going to poke it out and fold the fabric back and poke it through again. Now if I start to pull that, see how the tube starts to turn? It starts going inside. But I want to do a stuffed tube. I want to do like a little rope. I don't want it just to be like a little spaghetti strap. So I'm going to stick this in here. You don't even need to pin this. I'm just going to poke that in there. Just a little bit here. And as I pull the fabric, see how it sucks the cord right in with it? How cool is that, right? So we're just going to let that turn and pull it out. And pull it out the other end. And now that is how I made my roping that's on the front of my pillow. And if you refer to your measurements, you'll see how much to make. That's how we did that roping. Okay? So the next technique I want to show you is how to put in a zipper. Because this, you can use this as the front closure of your pillow. Okay, you can use it as your front closure. But it's really hard. And if you ever want to take the pillow, take the cover off to wash it, it's hard to reweave all that. It's much smarter to make the front of the pillow, put it in its entirety, and then put a zipper in the back side. And then you can put the form in and out easily, or if you're going to stuff it. So here's a pillow back ready to go. I'll show you how we do this. Okay, and what I did is I did a placket here. It's a super, super easy insertion. So what I did was first is I have my pillow back, and I took the bottom edge and I used my pillow template, and I used the 20-inch corner here. So what I did was I lined up the corner, the 20-inch corner on the edge of my fabric. Let's move this stuff from underneath here so we can see this a little better. I've gotten a little messy here. Okay, so I took the 20-inch line. I lined the black line up on the corner of the pillow. Okay? And then I follow the blue line right here. See that? So if you mark that out, and then trim like that, you get sort of a tapered corner, and that's how you get pillows without the dog ears. So I did that on the bottom edge, and then I folded up for the placket for the seam. So when I put the placket on, we're going to take a straight edge and we're going to sew it onto a slightly curved edge. But that way when we trim the placket, it's trimmed at a straight line. And you'll see what I mean in just a minute. So I'm going to switch feet right now. And I'm going to put on a different foot that you might not think about using. This is the double welting foot. Now, normally people put in a zipper with a zipper foot. And yes, the zipper foot works fine, but I love this foot way better because it has these two deep grooves, and it's going to hold that zipper perfectly in place. So I'm going to put that foot on. Okay. And we've got our zipper tape right here. And what I did was, with the zipper tape, is I put on some of this basting tape. Okay, that's going to hold my zipper right in place. So I'm going to start with my placket, and that placket is, I took a piece about maybe 3 inches, it looks like. You really only need about 1.5 inches, but I find it easier just to work with a little bit bigger piece and then trim it off. So I'm going to start with the, basting tape here. Take off the release paper. And I'm going to butt the edge of my fabric right up to the edge of my zipper tape. And then we're going to sew that down. Now, when I put this groove of the foot over the top of the zipper teeth, I may need to adjust my needle. So when I look at this, my needle looks like it's real close to the edge, so I'm just going to use my right-left shift, and I'm going to bring it to the left, maybe just like 2 bumps, and maybe 3. That looks good. I'm going to give it another bump, just because I don't want it to fall off the edge here. And you can see how easy it is to put in the zipper using that basting tape and this amazing foot. And there we have our zipper. Oh, I fell off a little bit here, so that's okay. I'm going to just go back and resew that. Sometimes I like making mistakes so that you can see how to fix them. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. Okay, so now we're going to sew the other side of the zipper on. So we've got to peel off that release paper. Whoops. I never realized how cool basting tape was until I started writing my current book on handbags and saw how amazingly cool it was. So I'm going to find the middle of this and the middle of this because we've got a curve and we're sewing it onto a straight edge. We might need to just make sure that our centers are lined up. And I've got pins here somewhere. There we go. Find the center. Again, these directions are all in your tutorial, so you'll have the step-out instructions for this information here. Now, I used a zipper that doesn't have the slide on it because I put the slide on after the fact. So if your zipper has a slide, you might need to adjust your directions accordingly. Okay, I'm going to line that up. See, it doesn't line up because guess what? I had trimmed this already and I haven't trimmed my placket. So that's why we line up the center to make sure that it's all going to fit the way we want it to, because we're going to trim that down a little bit in a minute. Okay. And now we are going to sew this. Now I want to sew this on the other side of center. So I'm going to use my right-left mirror image because I want to sew both of the sides of that zipper in the same direction. Make sure the teeth are right there. Because I've used this basting tape, I don't need to pin down my zipper anywhere. And it doesn't slide and it doesn't move. Yeah, it's moving a little bit right there, but that's just because of the curve. I think I got a little close to the teeth there. I just felt it. I think I just sewed onto the teeth just a little bit. See right there? So we're just going to stop and we're going to take that apart real quick. If your machine starts making a different sound, stop right away. Don't just keep sewing because that means there's something going on that you need to address. Okay, and now we're going to steam that. So let's go over to the iron. Back to the machine. And I'm going to put that little stray thread there. And to put our zipper slide on, we are going to open it up about 3 or 4 inches or so. And we're going to start with the rounded side of the slide, the side with 2 holes. We're going to put one end in at an angle and hold it. Put the other side in also at an angle. Set it down on your table and with the tongue up. I'm going to do this again because I know you're like, how did you do that? Start again, rounded side, and this is what you need to remember. Angle, angle, hold, and push. Not pull. This is pull with the tongue down like this. You want the tongue up like this. Push. That's, and then go like that. Okay? Here's another tip. If you do this, see how mine's nice and even on the back? But if you have a bubble, because you put one side in, so let me just show you. People tend to want to put that first side in too far. Okay, that's a classic rookie mistake. Okay, so if that happens and you get a bubble like this, it's okay. I'm going to show you how to fix that. Okay, if you are always putting one side in a little too far, then what you want to do is you're going to cut down the other side. Okay, so now when you put this side in, which would normally be too far, and you put this side in lower because you've cut it down, push, you don't have the bow. Okay, leave this in, and you don't want to go back and forth and play with it. You want to leave it just like that. You want both sides of that zipper closed. Now the next thing we need to do is trim this. And so this is a 14 by 20 pillow, which is going to finish at 15 by 21. So now we need to trim from the top down because we've added to the bottom. So we're going to trim the bottom off so that it looks like this. And where's my, let me just put the bottom. We're going to trim the bottom. No, that's not the bottom. Here it is. We're going to trim the bottom so it looks like this. So the zipper is right along the bottom edge. And now the bottom is ready to sew onto the top. I'm Pam Demore, the Decorating Diva. Join me next time when we're going to finish up this pillow. And I've got a couple more finishing techniques you're going to love. And love, love, love your Destiny 2 or whatever baby lock you're sewing on, because they really are fabulous sewing machines. And we are so blessed to have such a great sewing machines to sew on in these day and age. Thank you for joining me.